You are listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, presented by Richard A. Boxshall, in which I chronicle my life and attempts to become a professional writer by, doing some writing daily, hopefully. Hello, today is Thursday the 26th of October. No, it isn't. September 2024, and you're listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer. And I've really been struggling to get any writing done over the last week, possibly a bit more now. I don't know why. The motivation just seems to have... It's not even the motivation, it's the kind of knowing where to go and what to do next. Hence why you've had a lot of really pointless podcasts of me talking about stuff other than writing, because I haven't been writing. And this has prompted me to make a little decision. I'm going to give myself a few days off the podcast and a few days off where I don't feel I have to think about writing, which is fine. It means basically that I'm not going to do any more of these this month. So that's only 4 days off. I intend to be back on October the 1st. But it gives me a 4-day break where I don't have to force myself to think about the writing and think about, what I've got to say here. And it was a difficult decision because I've sort of set myself the deadline of podcast 200 to finish the draft of Empress of the Trees, which is a long way away. But then what do I do? Because I've had 4 days off, do I minus 4 days and say, right now, the target for the completion is 196, which seems a bit inelegant and weird. So, but yeah, because I suppose the one problem with setting myself a target by podcast number is that if I take a day off the podcast, it extends that days I've got to write the project, which effectively means I have to do the podcast every day in order for that to work. So, so the decision I've made is I'm going to have only a few days off. So I'm not working tomorrow, but I'm working the 2 days after that. And then the 30th, which is Monday, it's my first day of 17 days away from work. And I am going to see Richard Herring's Leicester Square Theatre podcast being recorded live in London. His guests are Adrian Edmondson and... I've forgotten his name. Michael Sheen. There we go. I hadn't forgotten his name. I was just having to access the memory out of the sort of at the back of my head or whatever. Yeah. And then on the 1st of October, I'm driving down to Devon for a week in Devon. So, yes, I'm going to give myself the next 4 days. Now, if something happens, and because it's quite possible, the fact that I've taken the pressure off myself to feel like I have to do something might mean it naturally happens. If that happens, then I'll come back early. If I suddenly find myself, in a couple of days' time going, oh, well, okay, I'll do that. Then yeah, absolutely, I'll be back, and I will. So it's not definite that I'll be away for 4 days, but it is my current intention to do so. So what it does basically mean is that I'm going to change my deadlines. So where I said podcast 200 before, I've worked out that if I had done a podcast every single day, podcast 200 would have been on Monday the 25th of November. So that is still my deadline for completing the first draft of Empress of the Trees. Looking somewhat less likely, if I had stuck to my original target of podcast 148 as being the deadline for finishing the current chapter. And bear in mind, this is podcast 140 or 141, I can't remember. But that means the deadline, technically, I need to check that out actually, because that will make literally a difference as to what I'm about to do. So hang on, I've just realised my maths may be off, so bear with me whilst I check something out. As I said, I don't edit this. I did once, could you tell? There was one episode where I did cut something out in the edit, apart from the silly one where I did the Friday the 13th nonsense. Right, let's just go into the app. Oh, no, so this is 140, so let me just counter. Bear with me, caller. So today is 140, 141, 142, 143, 144, 145, 146, 148, so yes, I had got that wrong. Right, so let's just correct that on my app, the note I'm going to make. So why wouldn't it give me the keyboard? I'm trying to type something, it won't let me. Oh, worry about that later. Okay, so sorry about that. Yeah, so my deadline for completing... that might be wrong as well. Oh, whatever. Monday the 25th of November is my deadline for completing the first draft of Empress of the Trees, and my deadline for completing the current chapter is Wednesday the 4th of October. Now, if I take 4 days off, that's not very likely to happen, but I then have a total of 17 days off, so I'm hoping to do a bit of catch up during that time, but we shall just see how things play out. As I say, up until now, this podcast has worked very well in kind of anchoring me and making me write. But when I'm struggling to get the focus of what I need to do, it then starts to feel a little bit like a millstone kind of feeling of I've got to do something because it's got to happen every day because I've said this and this. So I think it's having the opposite effect on me now. So like I say, I'm going to take 4 days off. I will be back on the 1st from Devon, which is going to be fun. And even if I just tell you what I'm doing on my holiday, that's absolutely fine. So thank you very much for, I know there are people, somebody even noted, because I'm so used to, you've been so used to for the last couple of months me doing this every single day, somebody even messaged me today to say, oh, well, has it come out? And it had. I think it was a problem with whatever system they were using to listen to it. So, yep, forgive me, a couple of days off. I'll be back on, what did we say that was, Monday. Thank you for listening. Or before, like I say, if the muse, as it were, hits. Take care, thank you, bye-bye. You have been listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, presented by Richard A. Boxall. Thank you for tuning in to my random ramblings, and if you'd like to know more about me or my projects, visit my link tree at linktr.ee/Richard Wright, capital R, capital W. Thank you for listening.